Hello everyone, today we are back bush flying. Unlike last video, we have now crossed the border from Papua, Indonesia to Papua New Guinea. We will again be flying in the Cessna 208B Grand Caravan, which like last video is a pretty big plane for some of these airstrips. For this flight we'll be landing at 5 very challenging airfields that are found in the simulator. Our starting airport is Alpha Yankee Papa Echo. We will then fly northwest to Alpha Yankee Hotel Juliet before heading southeast along to Alpha Yankee Mike India, then to Alpha Yankee India, Alpha Yankee Echo November, and we'll finish up at Alpha Yankee Uniform Charlie. Alright, let's not waste any further time and get started. So, fuel selectors on. Ignition set to normal, check. Power lever is idle. Prop max RPM. Battery on. Avionics 1 on. Beacon light on. Fuel boost set to on. And let's start the engine. Avionics 2 on. Alright, ready for taxi. Alright, all lined up on runway 05 now. Just get our power set, take off and turn to the left of the valley there. Just holding on the brakes. Keeping the RPM within the green. And release the brakes, take off. Good wind there, 60 knots, 75 knots, rotate. Climbing out on 80. Right, we're getting close to our first airfield. Now, according to my charts, the airfield's at 5,000 feet above mean sea level, and we're currently at 6,000. So just up the valley to our right, so we'll be starting our descent and heading towards the airfield. Right, we've got the full flaps down, we've got a bit of wind off to the left here, and the runway looks pretty steep, so I'm just going to try and maintain about 5,000 feet, because that's what I have on the chart. And we're maintaining about 70 knots. Let's see if I can bleed that off to about 65, but it looks like the runway's pretty steep, we shouldn't have any trouble doing that. Now I've just got to watch those trees on final to make sure that we just get over them. Looks like there's a nice little clearing ahead. Speed 75 knots. About good. Bit of turbulence. Some wind's coming over the hill. Looks like we're getting over those trees just fine. Alright, now we're going to gently pitch the nose up to follow the slope of the runway. Cut the throttle. We're floating a little bit. Alright, touchdown. Let's get those reverses out. Alright, let's turn ourselves around, ready for takeoff and off to our next strip. Just get to the top of this hill. Alright, now we're all ready for takeoff. The runway's really steep, so that should really help us get airborne. Let's just get our thrust set. Right, thrust is looking good. Release the brakes. Alright, we're going to need a little bit more speed than this. We're going to get above those trees. Alright, rotate, gently take it over those trees. Alright, not too bad for our first airfield. let's climb out and go to our next one. Alright, so we've successfully made it through the descent through the clouds, and we'll be heading to our second airfield, which is Alpha Yankee Mike India. I'm just going to get that last set of flaps out. Have our landing lights on, which is good. We can see the airfield up to our left. We're going to start our turn to short final. It's quite a short runway, so we're really going to have to manage our speed. Probably a little bit lower than I want to be. Nothing we can't correct. So we've just got to get over those trees. Idle that thrust off. Pull it up, plant it down, reverses, brakes, everything. Alright, cancel the reverse thrust there. Those mountains look stunning in the background. Alright, let's turn us around and get ready for departure. There we go. Not too bad in all. It is a pretty challenging airfield in the sense that the runway is incredibly short and it's quite a short final. You're forced to make a hard left turn before landing, so you really got to manage your speed and your altitude correctly. Alright, so we're all set to take off to depart for our next airfield. I'm just going to release that parking brake now. I'm going to hold on the manual toe brakes. Let's add some thrust. Get our thrust nice and set before we release those brakes. Add a little bit more power than that. Alright, I'm happy with that. Release the brakes. Probably not the safe takeoff that I was looking for, but we walked away from that one. Alright, let's head to our next airfield. Alright, so we're just heading on our approach for our third landing of the day, which is Alpha Yankee India India. The runway's just up ahead of us, but a nice, almost straight in approach. However, it is surrounded by mountains, so I'm not sure whether a go around is necessarily ideal in this circumstance. So let's get the first notch of flaps out and let us slow down. I can see from here the runway doesn't look too long. Looks like we're going to have to kind of hug the side of the mountain over here. Just trying to bleed off a little bit more speed. Alright, our last set of flaps. Try and hold our altitude. Just adjust the trim a little. Bit of turbulence. Alright. The scenery looks quite good actually coming into the approach here.
500.
Quite a bit of turbulence around. About 70 knots. Alright, I'm just going to idle the thrust. Nose it up. Stop floating. Alright. Alright, let's swing us around. Get ready for takeoff. Right, well, we enjoyed our stay here, so let's depart for our next airport. So let's just check landing lights are on. We've turned off the anti-heist for takeoff. Flaps are set, so we're ready to go. Let's just take off the parking brake and transfer to our manual tow brakes. Alright, let's set thrust. It's a pretty short runway, so I'm going to have to use maximum thrust just so we can get over this tree line. Alright, thrust is set. Releasing the brakes. Bit of right rudder. Airspeed is alive. Alright, rotate. Alright, 80 knots. Continue above that tree line. Nice. Alright, so we've successfully made it through to our next airfield, which is Alpha Yankee Echo November, which is our second last airfield for today. So, set our first notch of flaps. The airfield is somewhere off to the right of us. Can't quite see it coming into view yet. Oh, that's it there. Alright, so we need to descend a little bit more. Let's get our speed under control, set flaps to full. Just got to get that trim sorted out. See where the runway is there. Awesome. I'm happy with that altitude now, so let's try and maintain about 70 knots. Touch down about 65. Right, this runway looks very vulnerable, so I'm going to have to really manage our speed well. There's a lot of wind off to our left, so there's a bit of crosswind. Speed's a little bit high.
500.
Got a bit of turbulence. Just heading for the gap between the trees. Ooh, a lot of turbulence. That's right, we'll continue the approach. Alright, we'll flare. Oh, floating a little bit. Alright. Versus brakes. Looks like the slope of that runway really helped us stop there. Definitely a lot of floating. So let's just turn the aircraft around, get us ready for our final leg in our journey today. Nice. All lined up. We're departing our second last airfield for today. So let's turn our landing lights on. Should have been on already. Alright. Set thrust. Pretty short, so I'm going to have to use max thrust on this airfield. Just wait for the power to come in. Right, release brakes. Airspeed's alive. Bring the nose up a little bit, and then bring it up. Get it over that tree line. There we go. Alright, we're coming up on our final airfield for today. Alpha Yankee Uniform Charlie. So, let's get our first notch of flaps. Landing lights are on. Keep bleeding off that speed. You can see the runway up ahead of us. Get that speed a little bit further down. Set the trim.
I hope you enjoyed the video. I certainly enjoyed flying to these difficult airstrips. If you like this video, also check out my video of flying in Papua, Indonesia by clicking on the link on the screen. If you have any suggestions or want to see more, let me know in the comments. Thanks.